The text arrived at 30:12 p.m., cheerful in its restraint, the kind of message that assumes it will be accepted because it always has been. This year's too chaotic. We'll celebrate with you later. I was folding tissue paper back into a box. The living room smelled like pine cleaner. And the cinnamon candles I only lit in December. I typed OK and set my phone face down, as if turning it over could seal the agreement. There was no argument in me. There hadn't been for a while. There was only a practiced stillness, the kind you develop when disappointment has learned your schedule and shows up early. My son was on the floor, lining up toy cars. Whispering to himself, he asked if Grandma was coming later. I said maybe another day. The answer felt reasonable, like a bridge over a small stream. An hour later, the bridge collapsed. I didn't go looking for it. The photos found me the way truth often does, bright, unsolicited, smiling too hard. My sister's post filled the screen, the dining room table extended, the familiar wallpaper behind it. Faces I recognized before I could stop myself from counting them. Cousins. Aunts. The neighbor leaning in. Laughing, his dog perched on a chair with felt Santa ears tilted crookedly. The caption read. When you pull it together last minute, my son wandered over. Curious about the light on my phone. He recognized the room before he recognized the people. That's what broke him. His face crumpled slowly. Like a paper star folding in on itself. They said it was too chaotic, he said, not accusing, just confused. Children are devastating that way. I didn't answer immediately. There are moments when silence is the only honest response. I sat with him on the couch until his crying turned into those shallow hiccups that come after the worst of it. I told him we'd still have our own night. We'd eat the cookies meant for later. We'd open presents. He nodded, trusting me because he still did. In the quiet after, I stood up and took a picture of the wrapped gifts under our tree. I framed it carefully, no clutter, no drama. The message I sent was 4 words long: refund in progress. That was it. I didn't explain. I didn't ask why. I didn't send screenshots of the photos, didn't underline the lie. I let the message exist on its own. A professional courtesy extended to people who understood transactions better than feelings. The house went still again. I put my phone down and made hot chocolate. We watched a movie we'd already seen twice. Time stretched in that strange elastic way it does when you're waiting for something you've decided not to wait for. 40 minutes later, a car door slammed outside. I recognized the sound before the pounding started. The front of the house seemed to brace itself. The knocking was heavy, rhythmic, escalating into fists. Then my name, shouted like a command, like something owed. Open the door. My son froze. I stood up slowly. There are moments when fear and clarity arrive together. This was one of them. I didn't open it right away. From the hallway, I could hear my father pacing, breath sharp with outrage. He shouted again, louder, as if volume could erase context. I told my son to go to his room and put on his headphones. He did, obediently, wiping his face with his sleeve. When his door closed, I took a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. When I opened the front door, I didn't step back. My father stood there. Coat half zipped, face red from the cold or the anger or both. Behind him, my mother hovered near the car, arms folded tight around herself. The porch light cast hard shadows, turning the scene stark, almost instructional. What is wrong with you? He demanded. What kind of message is that? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lower it either. It's accurate, I said. He started talking over me, words tripping into each other, misunderstandings, last-minute plans, how things got out of hand. How my sister needed help. How I should have known. How I was being dramatic. I waited until he ran out of breath. You told me it was too chaotic, I said. You told my child we weren't included. My mother finally spoke, her voice thin. We were going to do something later. Later is what you say when you don't want to say no, I replied. It wasn't cruel, it was precise. My father scoffed. You didn't have to make it into this. I looked past him at the car still idling. At the house across the street, dark and indifferent. At the night, which wasn't watching us at all. I didn't, I said. I was a moment then, quiet, unmistakable, when the balance shifted. Not because I was louder or angrier, because I wasn't asking for permission anymore. You don't get to decide when my child learns he's optional, I continued. And you don't get to show up here and yell when I choose not to play along. My father opened his mouth, closed it. He wasn't used to that sequence. My mother stepped forward. Eyes wet. We didn't mean to hurt him. I know, I said. But intent doesn't change impact, and this isn't about punishment. It's about access. They both looked at me then. Really looked as if noticing for the first time that the door wasn't a suggestion. It was a line. If you want to be part of his holidays. I said. It can't be conditional. No side tables. No later, either we're included, or we're not. And if we're not, we make other plans. Quietly. The word quietly landed hard. It named what they had taken for granted, that I would absorb the inconvenience, smooth it over, keep things pleasant. My father's shoulders dropped an inch. Not an apology. A recalculation. Open the door, he said, softer now. Let us talk inside. I shook my head. Not tonight. They stood there a moment longer, the cold finally asserting itself. Then my mother nodded, small and defeated. They turned back to the car without another word. When the engine pulled away, the house exhaled. Inside, my son was still in his room. I knocked gently and told him it was okay. He came out, headphones crooked, eyes searching my face. Or they mad? He asked. Maybe, I said. But that's not your job. We sat on the floor and opened presents. Nothing miraculous happened. No swelling music. Just paper tyrann and ladder that started thin and grew steadier. Later. After he fell asleep, I scrolled past the photos one last time and muted my sister's feed. It felt administrative, not vindictive. The next invitation, weeks later, came early and with details. No apologies attached, no explanations, just clarity. It didn't fix everything. Favoritism doesn't dissolve that easily. But something fundamental had changed. I no longer waited to be chosen, and neither did my child.